Most people tend to think that a sociopath is a deranged serial killer. We have somebody like this. This is Rodney Alcala. He was convicted and sentenced to death last year for murdering 5 young women in California in the 1970s. He looks like he's nuts. There's this guy too. He also looks like he's nuts. Now this is Hannibal Lecter. He of course is not even a real person. It's Hannibal Lecter from The Silence of the Lambs. But this is the type of idea that most people have about what a sociopath or a psychopath is. I'm going to talk about sociopaths in real life. And the reason I'm doing this is because of this man, James Montgomery. Now, he looks like a normal guy. He's sitting, he was on the radio station at WFPG here in Atlantic City. He was also my ex-husband. He's a sociopath. This man, I was married to him for 2.5 years. He took $250,000 from me. He cheated with 6 different women during our 2.5-year marriage. He had a child with one of these women, and then when I left him, 10 days later, he married the mother of the child, which turned out to be the second time he committed bigamy. Okay, so this is my ex. One of the things that he told me was that he had served in Vietnam during the Vietnam War for the Australian military. He had also told this to everybody else who was here in this area, and this is a picture of him as the keynote speaker at a Veterans Day ceremony up here in Mays Landing. The guy was never in the military. Never ever. I mean, he lied about the whole thing. He fabricated documents that he sent to me, and this is very typical of what a sociopath will do. So, why should you care about what I'm going to tell you this morning? First of all, you are much more likely to meet a lying sociopath like my ex-husband than you are to meet a serial killer. One situation in which you may meet someone like this is in a romantic relationship. And sociopaths in romantic relationships are always abusive in one way or another. And sociopaths really start their lying and manipulation ways when they're in high school. This is when this disorder starts to come into fruition. Okay, so if a relationship is abusive, now, you may be in a situation which started out great, because they always do. Sociopaths are on their best behavior early in a relationship. They're showering you with love, sending you flowers, buying you presents, anything along those lines. So it's all very nice and charming and happy in the beginning. And then things start to shift. So you may find yourself in a situation where all of a sudden or over time, you're realizing that this person is not really concerned about you. He or she is trying to control you. So you want to break it off. Now, this might not be easy, because what happens is when a sociopath senses that you're pulling away, he or she will turn on the charm again and bring it back to how it was in the beginning. Or they will plead. I've heard of cases where sociopaths literally getting on their knees and crying in front of the person who is trying to break off the relationship. They promise they'll never do it again, they'll never lie again, they'll never cheat again. And all this is a tactic to keep you because they're not done with you. The other thing that may happen is that the sociopath may stalk you. I've heard of some pretty scary cases of how sociopaths have gone after their victims. They stalk on the internet, they do the cyber stalking, and so that's another thing that can happen. So if you're experiencing any of this, you should go to an adult to get help, to try and help you out with the situation. The other thing that may happen is that the sociopath may threaten to commit suicide. Now this was mentioned in the letter that I read to you. What you need to do in this situation is understand that this is not your problem. The sociopath could be lying and just saying this to make you feel guilty, or the person may have a real issue. In either case, you can't fix it. What you need to do is tell someone else who is in a position to help this individual if he or she is, in fact, thinking of suicide. The hardest part of breaking off one of these relationships is going to be dealing with your own emotion. Remember, you have bonded with this person. You have a psychological love bond. The sociopath does not. So you're still feeling compelled to be in the relationship where he or she is just doing manipulation. Your brain has been rewired if you've been involved with this person. So you really have to focus on staying away. I mean, you have to make a decision. You want to stay away and keep to that commitment.
Does he ever like tell his like new girlfriends or whatever, like, oh, my ex-wife's a psycho and she just made up all these lies about me to ruin my life? Do you think he ever like uses that excuse in case someone asks him about the website?
Absolutely.
And then do they believe him, and then do they
Yep.
come and yell at you, like, what are you doing, starting problems?
Well, that actually hasn't happened to me, but it has happened to other people, you know, because this is exactly what they do. You know, a sociopath tends to move from relationship to relationship, and they always portray the people before as psychos or, you know, really crazy or mentally ill. Yes?
Do you think that this is like solely caused by genetics or out of childhood experiences?
It's actually both, and that's a very good question. The condition is highly genetic. So what happens is somebody could be born with a predisposition to this disorder. However, whether or not the disorder actually flourishes and becomes dominant is a reaction to the type of parenting that they receive or the environment that they're born into. But what tends to happen with a lot of sociopaths, of course, if one of their parents is a sociopath, sociopaths make terrible parents. So the person is not only born with a genetic predisposition to become a sociopath, they also get this lousy parenting, which can, I mean, it can be really bad. You know, the sociopaths, you know, as they look at a romantic partner as a possession, they look at children as a possession. You know, these are just their things. And so they're really not concerned about the welfare of the child. They may be concerned about how the child makes them look, but that's about the extent of it.